Well, hello, everyone. This is Sevilla I love. And I want to say here we are on this channel getting back to living and loving again after a major life altering loss, such as being widowed. But tonight, it's Christmas. And if you're watching this any day of the week and you're having a horrible day, I want you to stay tuned and listen to this because Otis and I have something that you need to hear. So hang on. Okay. Say goodbye. Right. So I'm going to put this out. If this is your first time on my channel, I'm a grief and loss specialist. I'm a real therapist. This is my opinion channel, so you're the expert on your own life. Please see a professional for your own personal story, for your own personal advice. But I need to share a few things with you tonight. It is Christmas, and I don't want you to tune out because if you're watching this at a time that's not Christmas, it doesn't matter what the day is because it could be a freaking Tuesday for all that matters. This sucks. Really, 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 really bad when you've been widowed. And holidays, anniversaries, a freaking Tuesday can feel like the worst moment of your life. And you can't imagine how you're ever going to snap back from that. The feelings, the emotions, the memories that you're carrying are so heavy that you think you might break underneath them. And if it is a holiday for you, which is right now, it's Christmas. It's Christmas Eve, as a matter of fact. I've got my apron on. I'm making pumpkin pie. Believe for me, right? I get it. I'm a widow too. I've been there. My first year I was widowed. I took off to Hawaii because there was no way in hell I was going to stay where I had been. It was going to be too painful. So I did something that a psychiatrist I used to work with called relocation therapy. I went to Hawaii and it actually helped. But you might not be in Hawaii. You might be around friends and family and loved ones. You might be around strangers. You might be completely alone today. And so this is for you. It's Christmas Eve, and I'm talking to you. Feel compelled because someone out there needs a little company right now, and I want to provide that to you. I want to provide some support, maybe even some hope, but some company that says, I get it, and that you're not alone. As a grief and loss specialist, I see people every day talk about death and dying and grief and loss all day long, and I'm here for it because I've lived it. Had a ridiculous amount of loss myself by an early age, not just being widowed. So one of the reasons why these holidays feel so bad is because there's your memories. There's the first year without them. I get it. But here's this other piece. It's that Christmas is supposed to be so dang jolly. Everybody's supposed to be happy. It's a season for joy and celebration and light and love and goodwill towards men. And you feel anything but. Have you ever been in a nice warm bath or sauna and then jumped outside into the cold air or into a cold tub, or suddenly got a bucket of ice cold water poured on top of you? This immediate opposite reaction to however it is you're feeling, it feels really painful. And because there's this extreme joy and happiness in the holidays, and then you feel everything but that, it makes it worse because of the contrast, as if somebody poured a bucket of ice water on you when you were nice and warm and toasty. And it's hard for other people to get it. They're kind of like, well, could you just cheer up a little bit? Could you be here with us right now? Could you not run out every 5 minutes crying? Or could you put a smile on your face? And it's so hard to because of the expectation that you should. And then you're shoulding yourself as well. Like, oh, I should. And then it makes it so complicated because maybe the last time you had a holiday like this, or it could have been 2 years ago or 3 years ago or more than that years ago, and you're still feeling this pain, sadness, and loss for your spouse that died. You might have even moved on with your life and you're still feeling this. This is normal. Okay. There is not one widow or widower that I work with or have ever worked with that feels holly jolly and actually wants to do Christmas at Christmas time. I haven't met one, and I wasn't one of them either. And I'm a therapist, and it doesn't have anything to do with how how well you are not handling it. It has everything to do with this frickin' sucks so bad. Okay, I gotta go take my pie out of the oven. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Actually, I just had to turn the oven down. That's what I had to do. It's still cooking. It's a pumpkin pie. Always trying to recreate my mom's recipe. So on top of all this sucking really bad and people trying to urge you to cheer up, I mean, you might not be the only one that's bummed out. Maybe you're trying to make a holiday for other people. Maybe you've got kids, and you got to try to keep a happy face because the children aren't understanding the impact of what you're dealing with right now because they're young and they can't understand the loss in the same way you do because you have a lifetime to know what they're going to be missing out on and all of the everything. You're seeing that. The kids just see the moment. And so they might be a little sad, they might be missing, but mostly they're excited about presents and Santa Claus or getting their new Xbox or whatever it is. And so you're trying to keep a stiff upper lip for them. Okay. I get that. I remember many times where I thought, I was just going to completely fall apart, completely lose it. And I had to try to keep myself together for my kid because my husband died when my son was 3 years old. I had to completely rebuild my life. And that's what you're doing right now. There's so much in your mind that understands your world in relation to the person that's been there for 30 years, 40 years, 5 years, 20 years, however long it's been for you. But they have etched themselves into your mind and into your heart, and you don't have a concept of yourself without them. And then you have this holiday that comes up or this event, and you're just like, how can I do this without them? They would have loved this. And you think, oh, they would have loved this. And then you have a moment of, oh, and then that's an immediate letdown after that because they're not here. It's like this constant reminder, they're not here, they're not here, they're not here, they're not here. And this is what I want you to hear about this. Your brain has to go through a grieving process. And that's not just, I need to be sad for a period of time. There's a purpose in this sadness for your brain to get wrapped around the reality. There's a part of your brain that knows and understands that they're not there. But there's another part of your brain, the irrational side, the emotional side. Maybe it's the right side of your brain. I'm guessing. I'd have to actually do some research before I go spouting off about whether or not this is true. But I'm just going to guess, okay? There's a part of your brain that deals with the rational, and there's a part of you that deals with the part that's harder to touch. And that actually is the right side of the brain. That's a creative side. In order to bridge these two sides of your brain, you have to go through the emotional process of the loss. That helps the brain to create new neural networks that understands on a structural level that they're not here. And that takes you moving through the emotion so your brain can say, oh, okay. They start to make the connection. Here's Christmas. They've always been here. And now they're not. Whoa. Okay. That doesn't make any sense because I've got all these tracks in my brain that say they should be here. And so it feels kind of like torture in a way because this part of your brain is saying they should be here, they should be here, they should be here. And the other part of your brain's going, well, they're not here. So when you allow yourself to grieve, you start to create an integration between both sides of your brain. So eventually, when they say time heals all wounds, right, you don't forget anything. You don't forget how badly this hurts. And you certainly will have moments of pain and sadness as time rolls by, but it gets fewer and far between the more time you get between yourself and the loss. And what that means for you is that you have this period of time where your brain goes through a healing process. And how long that takes, it's different for every person. But I do look at like a 3-year time span for folks. And that doesn't mean you're going to feel exactly like this for 3 years where you can't see your way out of the hole. No. But the first year, you're always hitting these milestones, and your brain is going, okay, a birthday without them, a Tuesday without them, a Sunday morning breakfast without them, a Christmas without them, all of that. And so your brain's having to completely rewire. And it sucks. And you can, you absolutely can survive this, even though you imagine you'll just die of a broken heart. You have to stay connected, even if you're just sitting in sadness with somebody else. If you're alone, you can play all my videos if you want. You can play all somebody else's videos if you want. But keep someone in the room with you that makes you feel like maybe they can hear me, or maybe they not hear, but they get it. Because just having somebody else that gets it can relieve the burden just a little bit. So how do you put on a smile if you have to be with family for the day? What I'd like you to consider is that if there's an opportunity for you to lean into joy, that you don't have to also lean into guilt or to allow the rubber band to immediately snap you back to sadness. It's not necessary, and this is why. Because people say, well, it was a nice distraction that I got to see the kids opening present, nice distraction from the grief that I should be attending to, right? That's kind of the inherent message. I should be attending to my sadness. I should just be like this, but it's a nice distraction. Another way we could say that is I had a moment of happiness. I had a moment of joy. I had a moment of surprise when I got the gift. Ooh, another pair of socks. Surprise. Maybe it's a moment that you're happy to see so-and-so that showed up or so-and-so that called. Or you had a chuckle at a show that you watched, even if it was okay? Any little piece, anything that pops up for you, grab onto it like it's a lifeline. Not that it's going to last and last and last, but you grab onto it like it's a lifetime, like it's a lifeline. And what may happen when you do that is that you bring yourself more fully present into that moment. That moment of happiness is real. It's not a distraction. It's real. And you were able then for a moment to step out of the sadness and into something that didn't feel quite so horrible. And that's real. It's not just a distraction. Okay. And the reason I want you to consider this way of thinking about it is because when you do that, you add more meaning to that moment. And the more meaning you can add to it, the more it will impact your brain and increase the new growth in your brain that starts to understand the integration between the loss and the reality that you're living now. It starts help with that integration because it's helping you to grow around the grief, because with the grief, as I've said in other videos, it's like a ball in the basket. It takes up all the space in the beginning, and then the basket begins to grow. The ball stays the same size. Okay. And that's what grief is. It stays the same size. And as you grow around it, doing things like leaning into a moment of joy or happiness or a mirthful moment will help your brain, your emotional center to grow around this loss. Just a little bit at a time. And this is what you've got to go for right now is that better gotta be better. Better is better. Okay. Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Somebody out there needed to hear that. It makes a difference. So if you think of that moment as a little bit of sugar for the medicine that you got to swallow, use it. Use anything that you can that's healthy for you, that helps you to move through these moments. And also, that the grief can live alongside it can live along the sadness, the grief can live alongside a moment of happiness, a moment of joy, stepping into something that feels good, allowing yourself some self-care. You can carry both of them, and you will. Why? Because you must. Because you're still here. If you're still here, you still have a purpose, even if you don't know what that is right now. It's okay. You don't need to know. All you need to do is the next thing that's in front of you. And it might be meeting with family. It might be putting a spoonful of food in your mouth. It might be excusing yourself to the bathroom, splashing your face with some cold water, as cold as you can get it. That helps to shock your senses a little bit. If you got something you really need to be attending to and your emotions are overwhelming, ice cold water on your skin can help you to shock your system enough to where you can get yourself under control. Remember the old movies? They'd smack somebody in the face, when they get hold of yourself, man, and they would smack them. Well, that's just the idea that a sudden jolt to the system may help you to calm down, and it does work. So ice cold water can help. Hold your hands under it, put it on your face, hold an ice cube in your hand, something like that. It may help you to just, okay, I need to get this under control. If you have to be around family, if it's very important for you to hold yourself together, it's a trick. Okay. If you're in a space that you can allow yourself freely to feel whatever you're feeling, then I want to encourage you to do that. You can create space to have a moment of grief, and maybe you kind of hold on to it until you get home, or till you're on the drive home, or till everybody leaves, or whatever's happening. And then you let that out, but don't hold it, okay? Because grief needs to move through you. You don't want it to hold it in, you don't want to hold it here, okay? It's okay to do what you need to do in the moment to manage yourself, but then you create space later so you can let it go, okay? Because you can't carry all of that constantly. You've got to set it down for a little while. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself in that kind of way to the best of your ability. The second year, some people say is worse than the first. I don't know if it's worse, but it's different. Okay, because the second year kind of looks like, well, here we are. Guess it's always going to be like this. And then for some people that feels worse. But what it is now you're starting to understand your brain has gone through all the first, so it's gotten the message that every anniversary or moment or memorable time that you've shared, when that time passes, your brain goes, oh, okay, they're not here, they're not here, they're not here, not here. Now it's got a lot of data that it's stored up in there. And the second year is kind of like test running it now. Okay, now we've got all the data, let's test run this data. And that feels some kind of way the second year. The third year is when I start to see people have more space, more room, a little bit more freedom from the intensity of their loss. Now, not everybody feels this way. Okay, it's really important to know that everyone grieves differently, and each person's process is as unique as you are, and it's as unique as the love you and your late spouse shared. You don't like hearing that, do you? Late spouse. Don't like widow or widower. Almost sound like bad words sometimes, don't they? Because it's like got this heaviness attached to it. It means I've been hurt. It means the one I loved had to leave me. It's immediate. Oh, I'm so sorry. Right? You know, nobody says when I'm a wife or I'm a husband, oh, I'm so sorry. Right? Because there's a story that comes with the word widow. There's a story that comes with the word widower. And if you're not familiar, widower is the masculine and widow is the feminine. But widow may be used generally when you're speaking in mass terms. If you take this time right now to feel what you feel, know that you can and will survive this, not unscathed. You're different now. You'll never be the same, nor should you be. It's these moments that change us forever. And this is part of your human journey. When you married your spouse, you made a promise. You signed up for the risk of exactly this. You said, I will love you every day, knowing that one of us is going to leave the other one first. And I'm loving you enough that I'm willing to take that risk. And so, in a way, we all sign up when we marry. I don't know, it's right to say to die for love, but a part of us dies when they die. It's true. And so, the journey from here on out is that you have to, yeah, you don't have to today, but eventually there comes a moment of have to rebuild your life, reconceptualize yourself in the absence of them physically in your world. Who are you now that you're no longer the wife or husband of your beloved in this earthly realm? Your bond, your love, oh, that's unbreakable. That is eternal. I encourage you to talk to them. Yeah, talk to them. If you're in a private space, talk to them. Tell them what you think. Tell them how you feel. Tell them what this is like. It's my bias that the soul is eternal. It's my belief based on my lifetime of spiritual studies in all different realms of investigation that this life isn't the end, that we do continue on, and that when we die to this world, we pass through a veil. We're just there. But you're still here. And if you're still here, you still have purpose. Your life does still have meaning. And whatever age you're at, it doesn't matter. You might be up in your years and maybe you don't have another 50 left. You don't know how many you have left. You know, well, what's the next 10 years of my life going to matter? Well, it does. Because you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And this, if you might be inhabiting an elderly body right now, that's not who you are. But that mind, the consciousness that lives in this body that you call you, that still has work to do. And sometimes the changes aren't the ones that are on the outside of our lives or go on to have another big career or impact the world in some massive way. Sometimes the change and the purpose that we still have is something that happens up here, in that consciousness of the self. that you're still growing and expanding. It's like when you're in your youth, you're doing and you're running and you're going and all this chaotic energy. And you start to get into your middle years and you're accomplishing, and you're conquering, and you're creating. And then when you're in your elder years, you get more into learning how to just be the consciousness that is within this form that you call you. And so sometimes towards the end of one's life, not end, but the later years of one's life, you realize that sometimes the big changes are the ones that happen up here and up here. The big impact is the one that happened up here and in here. And that might be the next part of your journey, is expanding that and understanding who you are from the inside out rather than as in youth from the outside in. If you are young or, middle-aged to young and you're having to recreate and rebuild your life and you're wondering what the future is going to look like for you, just hold on. And for all of you, the only thing you have to know is what's the next one thing in front of you. You don't have to know what's going to happen in the next 25 years, the next 30 years, the next 5 years. Just to have to take the next step. And if you can keep your vision close to you while you're grieving, it's going to make this journey of moving through the worst of the grief that much easier, because the totality of your life without your spouse is going to feel so overwhelming it could feel completely crushing. And I know there's people out there going, yeah, no kidding, man. I friggin' know that. I'm living it. Okay. And when you try to carry the whole of your unknown future, you can't deal with it because it doesn't exist yet. What does exist is what's right in front of you, right here, right now. And maybe you need to wrap a Christmas present. Or maybe you need to make a phone call. Or maybe you need to file some paperwork. But it's just one thing today, one thing in this moment. And it might be you need to take care of yourself. You need to take a shower. Because you're not smelling real good, so you go wash. I know some of you out there didn't take a shower. You don't feel like it. To hell with it. Go take a shower. You'll feel better. Just a little bit. It's okay to feel better. It's okay. It's okay. And as one of my mentors, Dr. Rita Blumenstein, call her Dr. Rita because she was a tribal doctor, Alaska Native elder, dearly beloved. At 85 years old, she'd look at the people she was teaching, helping and healing in, and she would say, even when it's not okay, honey, it's still okay. You are going to be okay. I'll be here. I'll come back again. There's more videos on this channel. You are loved. And that didn't cease to exist when they died. It's your eternal bond, and you can't hold on to that. You can hold on to that eternal bond of love. Allow it to comfort you and talk to them. Wrap yourself up in that love. And you go take care of yourself now. Bye till next time. I got to take that pie out of the oven.